Good morning and welcome to Daily Red Devil for all of your latest Manchester United transfer news and talk. Happy Sunday, everybody. Well, is it a happy Sunday? Hopefully it's a happy Sunday for everybody. Final day of 2023. On today's show, of course, we'll be talking about yesterday's game. I'll be giving you all my thoughts on that. We'll be doing a bit of a review of the season, the calendar year 2023. With it being the last day of the year, we'll be looking at what's happened in 2023, what we need to do in going into 2024, some other bits surrounding that. We'll also be talking a little bit about transfer-related stories, so a bit on Jean-Claire Todibo, a little bit on some new players who are getting new contracts, lots of other bits to get into on the show this morning as well. As always, do get in the comments section, let me know your thoughts on everything we discuss on today's show. So let's start on yesterday's game, shall we? Because obviously that is the big talking point. I don't really know what to say, to be honest, other than that it was dull, boring, lackluster, pathetic. I could go on. There's plenty of words that could describe yesterday's performance. I think the first half was one of the worst halves of football I've ever seen from both sides. I think we had one shot on target, and that was Wan-Bissaka from outside the box, and it wasn't really even a shot, to be honest. One shot on target against a team that I think are second from bottom is embarrassing. I don't care whether it's home or away. We beat Nottingham Forest the last 5 times we've played them. We haven't lost to them, I think, since about 1930. To not even be able to record a shot on target, like a proper shot, shooting from outside the box and it deflecting off somebody and going on target doesn't really count, does it? That's just embarrassing. It is. I don't care whether we've got injuries. I don't care whether, this, that, and the other. You think that Anthony, one player, probably cost nearly the same amount of money as all of Nottingham Forest's team. Yeah? We sold Elanga to Nottingham Forest for 15 million and replaced him with Anthony for 100. There's no excuses for some of these things. There really, really isn't. Obviously, we got the goal back in the second half from Marcus Rashford. Again, that was it was a lucky goal. Their goalkeeper, Matt Turner, was having a bit of a meltdown, and we were gifted that goal. Other than that, I don't remember us creating anything really, to be honest. And I think, to be honest, it was one of the worst performances I've seen from a Manchester United side in a very, very long time. As I said, we haven't lost to Nottingham Forest, I think, in about 70 years. The last 5 times we've played them, we've beat them. Obviously, last season, we beat them home and away. We also beat them in the League Cup home and away last season. So, yeah, there's no excuses really. And I know people will say, oh, it's the new manager bounce and all the rest of it. Nottingham Forest didn't even play very well, let's be honest. It was a boring game of football. Neither team probably deserved to win. But just some massive mistakes from the Manchester United players ultimately gifted them goals. And every single time we concede, it's the same. It's a cutback from the edge of the box, and then somebody's on the edge of the box, they find the ball and they shoot and they score. It's the same. And teams know how to play against us. And the reason that this happens is because we don't have a midfield. Subbing off Kobe Mainoo at half-time is a decision I will never understand. And the thing which really, really frustrates me this morning, okay, is that I would hope that Erik ten Hag could come out and understand what he did wrong and would learn from it. But the quotes that I'm seeing this morning from his post-match press conference are ultimately him saying that he thinks that McTominay played better in the second half, and he thinks that we look like a better side with McTominay on the pitch. He said McTominay brought energy. I think the second half was much better on our side. What game was he watching? In what world do you think McTominay coming on made a difference? He was terrible, absolutely terrible. It is frustrating, and we will be discussing the question, do we think this is the end for Erik ten Hag? Now, you know that I like Erik ten Hag, you know that I'm a supporter of Erik ten Hag, but it is getting very, very difficult to back him. I know we've got injuries, but I don't know, I don't know. I honestly don't know anymore. I don't think he will get sacked personally. Whether he deserves to get sacked or not, I would say it's probably 50-50 at this point, genuinely. In the back of my head, I'm saying he got us third last season and won us a trophy. And that obviously means something. We went from the season before finishing, I think, 8th place to less than 12 months later, finishing third and winning a trophy. That obviously does buy you some time. So for me, if there was a better manager out there available, if you could have, say Zinedine Zidane was waiting for the job. There was this plan. There was, 10 players were going to be sold, 5 players were going to come in, and it was all kind of written and formed, like how Brighton operate. Brighton know who their next 3 managers are going to be. They know what players they're going to buy for the next 4 transfer windows. We don't even know what we're going to do in January, let alone what we're going to do in January in 4 years' time. So I just don't trust at the moment the people currently running the club, because the thing we have to remember is, right, Ineos was only announced like 2 or 3 days ago. And it takes, I think, around 4 weeks for the Premier League to approve new ownership in a football club. So, Ineos aren't going to be pulling the strings yet. So if Erik ten Hag was sacked now, it would most likely be Darren Fletcher and Steve McLaren as the interim managers until the summer, which for me is worse than what we have now. I would rather Erik ten Hag stays. He, has time to speak with Jim Ratcliffe, Sir Dave Brailsford, and maybe you let him go in the summer. If the results continue, I think you do have to let Erik ten Hag go in the summer, to be honest. When you look at our last 5 results out of the Champions League, the Liverpool game, we were lucky to get a point, let's be honest. Losing to West Ham again, that was one of the most boring games of football I've seen. Like, it was so lackluster. And West Ham didn't even really deserve to win that game, and neither did we. We were both poor. The Aston Villa second half, that was really exciting. I really enjoyed that. And then yesterday again was one of the dullest games of football that I've seen. And then if you go back behind that, we lost 3-0 to Bournemouth at home. In the last 6 games in all competitions, we've only won 1 match. 3-0 to Bournemouth. Losing at home to Bayern Munich, who didn't even need to win the game. A 0-0 draw with Liverpool, which, let's be honest, Liverpool had most of the ball and all the rest of it. Losing to West Ham in a game which we should have won. West Ham weren't even playing very well. The Aston Villa game, okay, fair enough, that was good in the second half. And then losing to a Nottingham Forest side who are second from bottom. It's not. It really, really doesn't. I was saying in the chat this morning. Except for Rasmus team that beat Villa. Yeah, exactly. Peter says, how many games will they let him lose? Ginge says, Erik ten Hag is sacking himself and the Scott McTominay obsession is his downfall. Disgusted with Erik ten Hag now. He needs to go. I'm sad about it, but he's done. Fair enough. Like, it's difficult to argue with you. It really, really is. I'm a supporter of Erik ten Hag. I like him. And I genuinely believe this, right? And I'm gonna say this as my kind of my closing statement on Erik ten Hag. I think if we had a proper system, a proper director of football, if he went into like a Brighton, or if he went into a Man City, or if he went into a Liverpool, or even an Arsenal, I think he would succeed. I think that we got the right manager at the wrong time. And what I mean by that is, I think if we were further down the process and maybe you had Jean-Claude Blanc, Paul Mitchell, Sir Dave Brailsford, Jim Ratcliffe, Dan Ashworth as the director of football, say you had that team around an Erik ten Hag, I think that he probably could succeed. But I think it's gone on too much now. And I think that, even the fans that are Erik ten Hag in are starting to lose confidence in him. And that's just when it becomes a problem, isn't it? It seems like most people in the chat are saying, yeah. Nathan says Erik ten Hag might go in the summer. As for now, he won't be going anywhere. I'm clueless as to what he's trying to do. I would agree with that, mate. I would. The thing we have to remember as well is he will go to another side and he will do well. And as I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but he's only got 1 year left on his contract, Erik ten Hag. His contract is only till 2025, and obviously we're about to enter 2024. So his contract will be up. Obviously, next year is 1 day away, but do you see what I'm saying? Like, he only signed a 3-year contract when he came to Manchester United. So if they did let him go in the summer, they wouldn't actually have to pay him very much money. So I think in some ways, I think that's actually quite positive that we didn't give him like a 7-year contract like we did with David Moyes. I think that was sensible. Obviously his first year at Manchester United was really good. We got a trophy. We got top 4. This second year, kind of since we won that trophy, out of the Champions League, losing at home 3-0 to Bournemouth, like, it's not been a good year since then. It really, really hasn't. Where do we go from here? I don't know, to be honest. I really, really don't. I really, really struggle to get excited about Manchester United at the moment when I watch them play. I love everything around Manchester United. I love, obviously, I'm always going to support Manchester United, but when you actually watch them play, it's very, very difficult to feel inspired, isn't it? It really, really is. It's just lackluster. It's boring. Even if we were losing games, but we were playing exciting football and scoring goals, I would be more happy, if we were losing games 4-3 or 5-4 but we're literally creating like one chance in a game, every single game. And it's just boring. It is. It's difficult and it's frustrating. Like, I'm glad I don't do the watch-alongs anymore, to be honest. I just, yeah. Kevin says, as a new member, I just wanted to say hello and compliment your channel. I will engage more soon. Cheers. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you for the support, mate. Really, really appreciate it. Let's see what else. Soren says Ten Hag must go. Fair enough. Very bad manager. You can't lose 12 managers in less than 30 games. Somebody says players out first, then Erik Ten Hag. The reason why we're able to point out the team mistakes shows there's plenty style, but not the right players to execute it. Yeah, I would agree with that, to be honest. I would. For me personally, what's going to be my final judgment on Erik Ten Hag is this. If in January you see lots and lots of activity from United, you see McTominay. I mean, obviously this is never going to happen, but this is going to be my kind of make or break for Erik Ten Hag. If he genuinely believes that McTominay is a good footballer, and he genuinely believes that McTominay should be, starting and be part of this team, he genuinely believes people like Johnny Evans. I mean, Johnny Evans is okay, but he's not good enough. He's a 35, 36-year-old. We shouldn't be having a player who got relegated with Leicester and was released as a free agent as our centre back. Like, we simply shouldn't. If he keeps playing Anthony, who is absolutely woeful, like, there's all of these decisions where either he lets his ego go and he accepts that he was wrong. Otherwise, I think he should probably go in the summer, personally, because, if he continues to play Anthony, if he continues to play McTominay, like, we're not going to get any better. We're not. It's just going to stay the same. Like, these players aren't good enough. It's as black and white as that. And he does have the opportunity now to acknowledge that, to remove these people, or maybe not. I'm not saying like completely sell them, but just bench them. Give Amad Diallo a go. Give Pellistri a go. I mean, even give Dan Gore a go over McTominay. Like, and subbing off Kobe Mainoo yesterday, our only fit centre defensive midfielder, I think is unforgivable. I really, really do. And bringing on McTominay. You're effectively playing without a midfield if you bring on McTominay, because Eriksen's obviously more of an attacking player. Bruno's more of an attacking player. And I don't really know what McTominay is. He isn't a defensive player. He isn't really great attacking other than getting in a tap in. Yeah. Somebody says, I've honestly lost count how many times Erik Ten Hag has made wrong decisions. He really has no more excuses. He is so stubborn and that will cause his job for sure. He ought to be sacked. Yeah, I agree with most of that. I do. I agree with most of that, that he's made so many poor decisions. He then comes out in the media after the game and backs his decisions like he did yesterday, saying that Scott McTominay had a great game and we looked so good after he came on. And it's like, how can every single person in this fan base be agreeing that McTominay is rubbish and that McTominay should not be on the pitch? And then Erik Ten Hag comes out. I mean, is he just trying to support the players? Is he trying to retain their value? Maybe they are going to try and sell him in the January window. Like, that's why I'm kind of being a bit hesitant at the moment, because you never know. We might wake up tomorrow and it might be like, Dallo, Johnny Evans, Reguilon, Amrabat, McTominay, Anthony. Like, it might be like all these players are up for sale, Martial, and they might all go. And then you have to be like, all right, fair play, Erik Ten Hag. He's been ruthless. He's got rid of people, and let's give him a chance. But the likelihood is, right, we'll be sat here in 1 month's time. McTominay will still be here. We'll still have the same right back and left back. We'll still have Johnny Evans. We'll still have Amrabat. I'm not singling out people, but I mean, literally 90% of these players. I said this to a friend yesterday, one of my friends I was talking to after the game, and I said, like, and this isn't even me being dramatic, I felt like this for a long time. I genuinely would not be bothered if 95% of this team were sold and we started completely from fresh. Like Ralph Ragnick said, that we needed to have open heart surgery. I still feel that way. When you look through the spine of that team, like, how many of these people would get in an Arsenal, a Man City, a Liverpool side? I don't think any of them would. Genuinely. Bruno wouldn't. He doesn't know how to retain the ball. Bruno was terrible yesterday. He's been terrible this season. Look at our team, right? Onana, he wouldn't get in any top 4 team. Wan-Bissaka wouldn't. Dallo wouldn't. Johnny Evans wouldn't. Varane maybe would, I think. Mainoo wouldn't. Let's be honest, he's 18 years of age. He's not going to, get in Man City's side. He's not going to get in Liverpool's side. I don't think Christian Eriksen would. He was playing at Brentford. Nobody else wanted him, and we got him as a free agent. Anthony definitely wouldn't get in any top 4 side. I think he's a mid-table to bottom of the table. I'm going to say this now, right? And this is going to sound probably dramatic. I think Alanga's a better footballer than Anthony. I genuinely do. Is Alanga good enough to play for Manchester United? No. But I genuinely believe he's a better footballer than Anthony. And we sold him for 15 million and paid 100 million for Anthony. I mean, just let that sink in. Bruno Fernandes, I don't think he'd get in Liverpool's side, Man City's side, Arsenal's side, because he doesn't know how to retain the ball. He is a good footballer, but he's not good in the system that Erik ten Hag wants to play. Garnacho, I don't think he'd get in any of those teams either. Again, I think he could potentially in the future. But at this moment in time, you're really telling me he's going to get in the team ahead of, Saka, Martinelli, even people like Grealish, Foden, like Bernardo Silva. He never will. He's not gonna. And Rashford's not gonna. I mean, maybe Rashford will get in the Arsenal team because they don't have a striker, but Rashford's not going to get in the City team, the Liverpool team, maybe not even the Newcastle team. So that's where we are. So it's difficult to be like Erik ten Hag this, Erik ten Hag that, because I genuinely would not be bothered if I would say every single one of the people who started today left, apart from Garnacho, Mainu, and Varane. But at the same time, I would sell Varane if a big offer came in, Literally every single one of those other players, I honestly would not be sad in the slightest if they left. I wouldn't. And the only reason I'm holding on to people like Garnacho and Mainu is because they're still young. I think they've shown talent. I think they've shown the right mindset. And I think they could go on to be good players or, world-class players, whatever you want to call it. But the rest of them, I'm done with them. And then, you don't even want to go down to the bench. It's like the bench at the moment is just youth players, which is great. It's exciting, but we have no depth at all. Mila says, would you give money to Erik ten Hag for January signings? I wouldn't give any money to Erik ten Hag, mate. No, I'd give the money to Dan Ashworth, Paul Mitchell, Jean-Claude Blanc, whoever the new team's going to be. And I would say to them, right, Erik ten Hag's on thin ice. From now on, you're going to make the transfer decisions. As in, Erik ten Hag has no say in any of the transfer decisions. And he's given players that suit the style of football that Manchester United want to play going forward. That's what needs to start happening. Peter says we should work on Zidane for the summer. I mean, let's be honest. I think Zidane would be levels above what we've got at the moment. He would, wouldn't he? Somebody says Dangor was supposed to play yesterday. Eriksen has no legs to play 90 minutes. I agree, mate. Eriksen was the same last season. He can only play well for about 20, 30 minutes, and then he looks like very leggy. Serene says we don't have any style with Erik ten Hag. Mate, we didn't have any style with Erik ten Hag last season either. Let's be honest, all right? I sat here earlier on today and I complimented Erik ten Hag's season last year. He got third and he won a trophy. But if you actually watch back some of those games, we didn't play very well at all in 90% of those games. It was just, moments of magic. Marcus Rashford shooting from outside the box. Bruno shooting from outside the box. Even in the League Cup final against Newcastle, I would genuinely say that Newcastle were the better side. If you go back and watch that game, they had the ball for most of the game. They had most of the chances. They just didn't finish them. So it's difficult. I said this at the end of last season. I said, obviously, I'm happy with third. I'm happy with a trophy. But the football we played last season was not good either. It wasn't. It really, really wasn't. All right, let's talk about Todibo really, really quickly. So the headline this morning is that apparently Tottenham are no longer in for Todibo. Does this mean that we'll go for Todibo? Maybe. We'll wait and see. In relation to new contracts, Victor Lindelof has just been given a new contract. Okay, we'll see what happens with that one. Yeah, but I'm going to wrap the video up here, guys. I'm going to go and decompress a bit. I hope everyone has a lovely day, whatever you're up to. I'll speak to you all a bit later. Please like the video before you go. Please do subscribe and speak later.